Welcome back to Main Street, the Craig L. Hayes Show. And welcome back, everybody. This is Main Street, the Craig L. Hayes Show. Welcome all my family, friends, listeners all around this planet we call home. Glad that you're here and listening to the show. Remember to go to YouTube and make sure I got this all, follow, and subscribe. And let people know about it. Tell all your friends, family, anybody to listen to the show because how awesome it is. Because it really is awesome. I can say that. But we're going to continue on with Ben Cope, and we're going to talk more about, let's see, we left off around the high school time. Let's go over to high school, and of course you went on mission and did all that fun stuff, and where'd you go in the whole 9 yards on that? So why don't we start there? Let's go high school and then move on from there.
High school was fantastic. Once graduated high school, I went and did a year at Snow College down in Ephraim, Utah. And that was just a fun, neat experience. Snow College was just a fun college and good. So, great professors, fun campus, and just a good environment down there. So I spent a year there, and then I went on a mission to the Canada-Toronto West mission, which covered most of Ontario except Toronto. That was not part of it. And so I spent about half my mission way up north in some towns, Sudbury and Elliott Lake. And then I spent the other half down south near Niagara Falls and kind of that area. And, of course, that was just a amazing experience. Learned a lot about what winters really should be like when I was up in northern Canada. The winter started about mid-October, and once it started snowing, all the roads turned into one-way streets, and I mean it was unreal. I remember they had a great big lake in my first town. It was a little town, a couple thousand people, and they had this great big lake in the middle. And on Halloween, that lake froze over, which is just so much earlier than I had ever experienced. And boy, it got cold. And you get to the point where we used to check, when I first got there, I'd check the weather every day. I'm like, oh my gosh, the high is going to be, -5, or it's going to be, but you start to realize if it's 10 degrees or -10 or -20, it's all just cold.
Yeah, we're not in Salem anymore.
No, and we learned that real quick, but of course that was just a fantastic experience, and learned so much about myself and God and people, and one of those events in life that just changes and alters who you are for the remainder of your life. I actually ended up having to cut, normally it's 24 months. I ended up having to cut mine a little short. I came home after about probably 16 months. I was born with a little heart defect, and I had surgery when I was younger, like 2 or 3, where they just went in. I had a valve that wasn't open properly, and so they went in and just cut that open, and never thought anything else about it until I'm on my mission, and suddenly I started having all kinds of trouble. Couldn't walk upstairs, and I'm like, this is so bizarre, because before that I'm out, I was running every day and no problems. And now I'd go up a flight of stairs and, I could hardly stand up. My fingers were going blue. I'd get blurred vision, and it's like something's not right. So anyway, I ended up going back, and I had a atrial septal defect, a defect between 2 of the chambers of the heart that didn't close when I was born because of that valve. Anyway, it never gave me problems until I think it was probably the 30 pounds I gained and something. But so I ended up coming home, and I had to have a second open heart surgery at 20 years old to patch my heart, and so anyway, I did that, and then I finished my second year at Snow College, and then off to the University of Utah.
Okay, can we go on to the mission?
Yep.
16 months. I did an 18. I was that first group that did the 18-month one. I was May was the time. So in April conference, they came out and they said missions are now going to be 18 months. And I'm like, one more month, and I've been in the
Yeah, right.
24. If I'd have been,
That's
it was
interesting.
interesting, but it was real weird when you go from, hey, there was 11 months, almost 11 and a half months basically. And they go, if you're out less than a year. And I'm like, that's me.
Right.
You just took 6 months off the end of me.
Wow. That would
Just
be
cut
kind of
it.
wild.
That was really bizarre.
Yeah.
That was really strange. And I was like, that means I'm going back in like November instead of May.
Only one Christmas away from home?
I was like, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, one Christmas, one Thanksgiving, just one.
Wow. Yeah, that would be kind of wild to
So
expect
bizarre.
2 years and then be told halfway through.
Yeah,
Wow.
but hey, it was what it is, and I think they eventually changed it back. I know the finances and stuff were the biggest thing on that thing, but everyone came back and say, you're just getting good at
Sure.
being a missionary. 12, 13, 14, you're just getting into the groove and
Sure.
you're cooking, and okay, go home.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, well, okay. But anyhow, what was it on your mission? What was the one thing you learned that was the most important to you on your mission? I ask my nephews and nieces when they go on their mission this kind of a question. What is it that you really learned about yourself? What was the biggest thing you learned?
I mean, the list of things you learn on a mission, going out at 19 years old and living on your own. I mean, the list is 100 miles
Yeah,
long,
exactly.
obviously. But if I could pull it into one thing and say this is probably what I gained the most from it, I think it's just growing up, I never really had any cares in the world. I'd go out and I wanted to go out and hunt rabbits. I'd go hunt rabbits. I want to go play on some equipment. I go play on equipment. I want to go swimming. I'd run up and jump in the reservoir. Like I had what I wanted when I wanted it, and I didn't really worry about much, including what do I really believe in? What do I really like? What's my purpose? Like I didn't worry about those things because I was just living my dream life. And suddenly here I am on a mission, and I have to figure out who I am, and what's my purpose. And so the biggest thing I learned, I think, is to trust God and to recognize that there is something bigger than me, and that thing that's bigger than me is guiding my life and does care about my life and does want to see me succeed and is there to help me succeed. And so I really learned to lean on my Heavenly Father, to lean on a higher power, and recognize the importance of that for me to progress and for me to move forward and for me to get through tough times and for everything. So really it's the reliance on a higher power and understanding that I can't do it by myself. Even growing up, I mean, obviously God was a part of my life, but I didn't recognize and give the thanks and gratitude that was needed. And I think it was when I finally got out on my own that I realized, you know what, I've kind of been a selfish person for a very long time, and it's time to change that.
Amazing. Yeah, and folks, there is no right and wrong answer to any of this because everybody has something different that they find about themselves when they're on a mission. And so there was mine was curiosity because I asked, a lot of the kids that go out on a mission comes back, my kids, whatever, my son. I shouldn't say kids. I only had one that went out on his mission.
Right.
The rest of you guys are losers. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's just that's very interesting. I love hearing stuff like that. Just everyone's perspective because everybody gets something different out of it.
For sure.
It's just so interesting to me just to hear people's new experiences and what happened.
Well, ask me in a month and it'll probably be a different answer too.
That's okay too because we're all supposed to always be learning something new and different. So, but yeah, when you're younger, we don't have the concerns. We don't have those worries. When you're on a mission, it took me a little while to realize that, the people I was teaching and stuff like that. And when we had one person that was going to get baptized, but, old Satan showed up that night and talked her out of it and gave her a bad time. And you go and you go, wow, I could have helped on that had she been able to get a hold of us. We could have,
Sure.
you feel responsible in some way. This is my fault. This happened. Because
Sure.
I could have helped. Strong for her and cast out the devil and whatever it would take to make this happen. But that was important for me to learn. It says, this mission is not a free ride.
Right.
It's not all good. There's hard times, some of the worst times in your life you're going to have. And it's not worse like, something tragic. That is a tragic. Someone didn't join the church because of something I did wrong. It is what it is.
Right.
But, you learn, my things I'm doing just do not affect me.
Yep. And that's a good lesson to learn for, everything in life. My goodness, work and marriage and everything, and to recognize, in my marriage, I'm having the best time of my life, but I'm also there's the days where it's the hardest and the worst time of your life. But again, for me, recognizing a higher power and friends and family and loved ones and just knowing we don't have to do it alone, and we shouldn't have to do it alone.
No, exactly right. Exactly right. No, that was probably the thing that I learned the most about, and has kept it in my mind since then, since I was 19, 20, in the back of my head all the time. Everything I do has an impact on everything around me.
Sure.
So, not that I always do the right thing, but I'm conscious of it.
Yep.
So, and you have to be, especially when you get into certain positions, like you became a bishop eventually, and stuff. And that's what you're doing has a lot of impact on a lot of people's lives.
Sure.
And so, but we're not there yet. We're still on the mission. So, but the heart's good. Everything's good, and they fixed everything
everything's good.
So,
In fact, I just had a big workup about 6 months ago, and they told me keep on trucking, keep
Right
going,
on.
no problem.
isn't medical science is so cool?
It's amazing.
So, Snow College. Did you go to Snow College just to get the basics out of the way, get them, gone?
Yeah, I did. So my interest at the time when I was going to college, I always wanted to be a chemist or a mathematician, or I always was interested in chemistry, math, physics, and Snow College had really good professors for physics and chemistry and math. They were really good and had a good reputation. So I went down there, fell in love with it even more. Went to the University of Utah and just continued that love with chemistry and math but Snow College was a great base, and it was a good place to. I mean, of course, I did get I knocked out a lot of those classes. You got
Required.
Yes, got a lot of those done, and a good place to do it. But just continued at the University of Utah, and things went well there. But obviously, I didn't become a chemist, so I changed course a little bit. But
when did you realize what you want to do? To become a dentist and all that. And what was it that made you suddenly go, I love chemistry, I love all this other stuff, but I think I'm going to be a fill in the blank.
Dentist is the blank.
Dentist. Yep. But what was it?
I when I went up to the University of Utah, right when I got up there, I knew I wanted to get a job working for a chemistry lab, and I was really interested in electrochemistry at the time, and I don't know if you remember the Pons and Fleshman days with cold fusion and the big cold fusion stuff.
Yeah.
That always fascinated me, and I kind of loved that whole story. And so I went and talked to the electrochemistry professor and asked if he was looking for undergraduates to work for him, and he said, yes, apply. And I applied, and I ended up getting a research job with the electrochemistry lab. And oddly enough, when I walked in the lab the first day, it was like the greatest thing ever, because they still had the signs hanging up saying property of state of Utah cold fusion lab. I was working in their cold fusion labs, and so that was kind of just an added bonus. But so I started doing this research, loved the research, loved it so much. So that coming summer, I applied for an internship with the American Heart Association to do some research with the American Heart Association. I ended up getting the internship, and I was doing research for different tracers, radioactive tracers for PET and spec scanners, but part of it we had to write or help write the grants. I of course wasn't writing the grants, but I was helping write the grants and put them together. And again, the research was fantastic. Then I saw the other side of research, the let's try to get funding side of research. And that's where I completely got turned off to becoming a chemist, because we would write these grants and we would do proposals to different companies, GE, Marconi, different companies that make these PET scanners and spec scanners. And we would get it back and they'd say, yes, we'd love to fund your research, but here's the parameters, here's this. I mean, they would literally tell us how the research will be done and what the results will be in order for them to fund the research. And I said to the professor, I'm like, wait a minute, is this how he's like, oh yeah, if you want the money, you gotta play the game. You gotta do what they want to do. I'm like, for everything? He's like, absolutely.
So they had already done their research and they just needed some outside validation of what they were doing.
Yep. And you do the research their way and you get the results they want. Yep. Otherwise, they don't fund the project.
It's the same in government.
Sure.
Government grants and stuff like that. The results are, here we're going to give you all this hundreds, millions and millions of dollars, and here's what you're going to do, and you're going to come up with this thing that says climate change is man's fault. Okay, you got it. I'll put together a 1,000-page report and tell you.
Yep. So that frustrated me, and in a moment of that moment of weakness, I had a good friend who was a dentist and had been a dentist for a couple of years, and I was talking to him. He's like, well, have you ever thought about dental school? I said, no, never. I went down and checked out his office and spent some time with him. And I'm like, maybe it would be worth it. So I looked up the prerequisites, and I already had pretty much all the prerequisites done. So I thought, well, I'll go ahead and apply. I looked up, I'm like, well, to apply, I just need to apply by now. Like, I had to take the dental entrance exam, which I didn't know anything about, but I just signed up for it and took it. And then I applied to dental school and, well, got in, and here I am.
Wow. Talk about coming from out of nowhere on that, huh?
Oh yeah. It literally had never crossed my mind. Never crossed my mind until I had talked to him, and yeah, I just, out of the blue, I looked up what I had to do and did it, and yeah.
I think that's the type of thing that's going to make this show so interesting. I was doing this and this and working for, research and stuff. And all of a sudden I looked at dentists and I could do that too. And went off and did that.
Yep.
How many people's lives have that going in it? At 18 years old, I had a career. My career was showbiz. And I did that for 44 years. Wow. And it wasn't one of those things like, I think I'd like to go be an astronaut. I did when I was a kid. I thought an astronaut would be cool. But, nothing like that, because I didn't go to, well, I did go to college for about 3 weeks. So I was a junior college dropout. So, and I just said, I can't do this again after high school. No. I'll go and continue on being a stagehand.
There you go.
This is what I know. My family's done this for, I don't know how many years, and I'm just going to keep doing it.
And it took you to some amazing places.
Yeah. And then you got to hear one of them earlier.
Yes.
On some stuff. And no, that's the amazing stuff. But wow, I think that's going to be some of the coolest stuff here when we're doing some of these interviews with people. It's going to be what got them into what their careers.
Yep. And it really was a moment of frustration, conversation with a friend who was a dentist. I mean, that completely changed the course of my life. So,
wow.
Yeah. And
I dig that. That's just so cool.
It was good. Yeah. And that it's interesting to see God's hand in your life through all of this, because, I end up applying to dental school, and when I started getting accepted to dental schools, you get these acceptance letters, and they come, they can't let you know till December 1st. So December 1st, I start getting these acceptance letters, and one of them that I got a letter from was Marquette University in Wisconsin. And me and my wife sat down and we're like, wait a minute, did we even, and we look, and we didn't even apply to Marquette. So they had got my dental entrance scores, but I never even applied. Didn't apply to Marquette. So we didn't think anything of it. We're like, no, we're not going to Marquette. Don't even know what that is. And so we were continuing the process with some of the other schools and trying to decide what to do. And 2 weeks later, I get another letter from Marquette that said I'd been awarded a scholarship at Marquette. And me and my wife were like,
And you never
weird.
applied?
Never applied.
Wow.
So I called them and I said, hey, I just got a scholarship letter. Am I really in? And they're like, well, yeah, especially if you got a scholarship. Let me look it up. And they're like, whoa, we actually don't have an application on file. So, yeah, you'll need to apply, but yes, you're accepted. I'm like, okay. So I filled out the application. And
That's the cart before the horse.
yes, exactly. So we're like,
Wow.
maybe we should fly out and look at Marquette, at least find anything out about it. And we did end up going there, but it's interesting the things we learned. I got put in as scoutmaster right when we moved there, which is exactly where I wanted to be. So it worked out perfectly. But we get there, and within, 6 months, we'd been there, whatever, and the boys wanted to go shooting. And so, it's not like Utah where I can just drive up in the hills and shoot. You've got to go find some farm or something and get permission. And so we drove a little bit out of Milwaukee, and I turned and was heading west into the farmland, and we see a farm. We're like, oh, let's stop and we'll see if this guy. So we stop at this guy's house. Said, do you mind if I bring some scouts up and shoot? He's like, no problem. Just stay down in the trees. Good to go. Week or two later, whatever, we go up and we shoot. And a couple of the guys took the boys home, and I said, I'm going to go up and just, talk to the owners and thank them for letting us do it. And I drive up there, and I said, thanks a lot. Going, they talked, and his last name was Shumway. And I said, that's interesting. I said, I had a great-great-great-grandpa who was a Shumway. And he's like, where are you from? I said, Utah. And he said, well, you don't happen to be one of those Mormons, are you? Because one of my descendants, he joined the church, and he went out to Utah with the Mormons. I'm like, absolutely. I said, my grandpa, my great-great-great-grandpa's Charles Shumway. And he's like, come in here.
Uh-oh.
Well, I go in there, and he starts pulling out boxes of genealogy. And he had original journals from the 1700s of my direct line great-great-great-grandparents that we didn't have. Our line on the Shumway line actually ended, and we didn't have a lot of information going too far back. And he pulls out all of this information, and we are able to find hundreds of grandparents, cousins, aunts, uncles in our line, and original journals. It was unreal. And he's like, well, I don't want you, I'm not going to give them to you, but you can get copies of all this stuff. And so we went and got copies, and of course we were able to enter it and be able to get to some temple work done and all this stuff for all of these people that was a line that was kind of dead. And I just said, oh my goodness, like I got accepted to a school that I didn't apply to, stopped at a random farmhouse in the middle of Wisconsin, and ended up finding a relative who had original journals from several of my relatives.
If that's not God's hand,
right?
That's I don't know what is.
Yeah, that kind of made me realize, boy, there's something bigger than me going on in the world.
Especially starting it off with, here's an acceptance letter, even though you didn't apply.
Yes, very strange.
And then you didn't do anything about it. And it's like, do we have to send another letter to this guy? Okay, go ahead. Go down and send him another letter.
Let's give him a scholarship.
Give him another one. Still no, give him a scholarship. What's with the...
Yep.
Short of going down and smacking him upside of the head.
That's what it takes for me, unfortunately.
I think 99% of us, that's what it takes. So that is so cool. We skipped over something that was kind of important that we should go back and talk about.
Sure.
You finding your wife and
absolutely
married.
Snow College. That takes us back to Snow College.
When we get back, we're going to take a quick 5-minute break here, and then we'll do another episode because we've already come to the end. Yeah, you should probably talk about
I
that
probably
a little
should.
bit. That might be an important chapter of your life. So anyways, we'll be right back, folks, in just a minute here, and we're going to continue on with... Thank you for listening to Main Street, the Craig L. Hayes Show.